What does it really take for a cutting-edge company to build the future? It's rarely just about those splashy, headline-grabbing announcements, is it?
Not usually, no.
Often the real story unfolds in the nitty-gritty details, quarterly reports, strategic partnerships forged behind the scenes, navigating these incredibly complex regulatory landscapes.
Exactly.
Today we're taking a deep dive into Oklo Inc. They're a company that's truly at the forefront of advanced nuclear energy. You've shared their latest Q2 2025 update, plus some really insightful related news.
Right.
And our mission here is basically to unpack their financial health and, maybe more importantly, what their strategic moves and guidance tell us about the future of energy itself.
That's right. And this isn't just about parsing numbers on a balance sheet. It's really about understanding how a company like Oklo navigates, well, the inherently complex landscape of an emerging market.
Hmm.
They're balancing their current burn rate, the cash they're spending right now, with a pretty bold long-term vision, and all while being significantly boosted by some powerful policy tailwinds. Okay. So we'll be looking at their financial report right alongside their strategic collaborations and the broader industry shifts that are shaping their path forward. It's a fascinating look at how a future-focused company is actually building momentum.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The first thing that naturally grabs attention from their Q2 report is the financial results. What exactly did Oklo report for the second quarter of 2025? And I guess, how should we interpret those numbers?
So Oklo reported a loss of 18 cents per share for the second quarter,
Okay.
which actually missed analyst estimates. They were looking for, I think, a loss of 12 cents per share. Their operating losses for the quarter were $28.0 million.
Right.
That's compared to $17.7 million in the second quarter of 2024. Now, if you're just looking at these numbers in isolation, yeah, it might seem concerning.
Sounds like a bigger loss.
It is, but for a development stage company, especially in a capital-intensive industry like nuclear, these aren't necessarily, red flags waving everywhere.
That's a crucial distinction you're making there. Because for many listeners, a reported loss, especially one missing estimates, might immediately make them think, uh-oh. So what were the primary drivers behind that operating loss? And why is it not as simple as just they lost money?
Well, the report specifies that these losses were primarily driven by core operational costs, payroll, general business expenses, professional fees,
Yeah.
particularly those associated with their capital raise.
Oh, okay.
And what's interesting to note is that it also included a significant non-cash stock-based compensation expense, around $11.4 million.
Non-cash meaning.
Meaning it's not cash leaving the bank, it's an accounting of equity allocated to employees. It tells us they're investing heavily in talent, incentivizing their team, which is pretty common for innovative tech companies in a big growth phase.
Got it. So on one hand, we see these operating losses, but then the materials also highlighted a strong balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Can you clarify that? How do they reconcile those two seemingly contradictory ideas, significant operating losses, but a robust financial standing?
Yeah, that's where the bigger picture really comes in. Despite the operating loss, Oklo ended Q2 2025 with a remarkably robust cash and marketable securities position. We're talking $683.0 million.
Wow.
Yeah, that includes $226.8 million in just cash and cash equivalents and another $456.2 million in marketable securities.
And where did that come from?
Well, a key factor here is that their cash position was significantly boosted by $440.1 million from a highly successful marketed follow-on equity offering net of fees.
So they raised a lot of money.
They raise a lot of money. And for context, their cash used in operating activities so far this year-to-date 2025, was $30.7 million. That's well within their own full-year forecast of $65 to $80 million.
Because they're managing it.
Exactly. It demonstrates they have substantial liquidity, a long runway, to fund their operations for quite some time going forward. And that is absolutely crucial for a company building something entirely new, incredibly capital-intensive. They're spending money, yes, but they also raise significant capital to do it. It's about building that runway.
That makes perfect sense. For a company at this stage, it's all about managing that financial runway, maybe even more than current profitability. They're investing in a future that just requires massive upfront capital.
Precisely.
Okay, now that we understand the financial foundation they've built, let's maybe pivot from the balance sheet to the actual physical stuff they're putting in place. What's the latest on their flagship Aurora powerhouse project, particularly the one slated for Idaho National Laboratory, the Aurora INL?
Right. This is where it gets really interesting for future guidance and, project execution. Oklo is targeting commercial operations for their first nuclear powerhouse, Aurora INL, sometime between late 2027 and early 2028.
Soon.
That's the target, pending, of course, regulatory approvals and construction progress. But they've made significant strides already. They selected Kiewit as the lead constructor for Aurora INL.
That's a big name.
Huge name in infrastructure. It's a big deal. And pre-construction activities, site mobilization, early procurement, those are expected to begin in the third quarter of this year, 2025. That indicates real boots-on-the-ground progress, a clear path forward.
Now, for many of our listeners, the idea of a commercial nuclear powerhouse by late 2027, that feels incredibly ambitious, even for these advanced reactors. What specific factors make Oklo confident in that timeline? And crucially, what about the regulatory side? How's their licensing progressing with the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission?
It is ambitious, you're right, but you have to remember, they're not building a traditional gigawatt-scale plant. Oklo's Aurora powerhouse is smaller. It's an advanced, fast reactor designed for factory fabrication, modular deployment, that significantly cuts down construction time compared to the old conventional reactors.
Okay, that makes sense.
Modular. Exactly. And on the regulatory front, they've completed Phase I of the NRC Readiness Assessment for the Aurora INL Combined License Application, the CLLA, and importantly, with no significant findings.
Good sign.
Very good sign. It reinforces their readiness for what's next. They're targeting submission for Phase I of that CLA early in Q4 2025. But what's truly fascinating here, and potentially a real game changer for speed, is their licensed operator topical report.
What's that?
So the NRC has accepted it for review. And this report proposes operator licensing based on their Aurora technology itself, not tied to each individual site.
Ah, like a type certification.
Sort of, yeah. Think of it like a standardized operating system for their reactors. If approved, this could significantly streamline future deployments. It aligns perfectly with their build, own, and operate business model, which is all about repeatability and efficiency across multiple sites.
Like a franchise model for nuclear plants?
Kind of, yeah. Once the core design is approved, subsequent deployments get much faster. And they've even launched a public regulatory dashboard for transparency, which is pretty unique for this industry.
Interesting. Okay, one of the biggest historical hurdles for any nuclear project, especially a new one, is fuel. Securing a long-term, reliable fuel supply. How is Oklo addressing that? And what does this mean for their long-term viability, their competitive edge?
Yeah, fuel is critical. And their strategy here is a major differentiator. Frankly, it's a huge competitive advantage right now. Oklo is actually the only advanced nuclear company with fuel already secured for its first commercial facility.
Really secured?
Secured. They were awarded 5 metric tons of HALEU fuel, that's high-assay, low-enriched uranium, from the Department of Energy way back in 2019.
Okay, so that covers the first one.
Exactly. That initial allocation is critical. But it naturally raises the big question. How do they plan to scale beyond that? How do they fuel multiple powerhouses down the road?
Right. What's their plan for a broader, more resilient fuel supply as they look to build out what they envision as like a whole fleet of these powerhouses?
They're pursuing a genuinely diversified, multi-pronged approach. It's pretty smart. First, they can utilize various government fuel stockpiles, things like plutonium-based fuels, down-blended, highly enriched uranium, HEU.
Stuff the government already has.
Exactly. And the crucial part here is that these materials do not require enrichment, which simplifies the supply chain immensely. Recent executive orders, which we can touch on more later, unlock access to enough of these government materials to potentially support dozens of their early powerhouses.
Okay, that's significant.
It is. Second, they're actively securing commercial HLE supply through partners like Centrus. Centrus is currently the only domestic producer of HLU, so that's key.
All right.
And third, they're looking even further ahead, collaborating with a company called Hexium to explore a laser-based enrichment process called AVLIS.
Laser enrichment.
Yeah, it's cutting-edge stuff. Could potentially make fuel production cheaper, maybe more environmentally friendly, using lasers instead of the traditional, really energy-intensive processes. And that Benzinga article also noted a strategic collaboration with Lightbridge Corp. They're exploring co-locating a fuel fad facility right within Oklo's own advanced fuel manufacturing setup that would also serve as a joint R&D hub. So it's a very comprehensive approach.
And they also talk about nuclear fuel recycling. What's that about? That sounds like a major long-term play addressing not just just fuel supply, but also that big societal concern around nuclear waste.
This is, I think, truly a long-term differentiator for them, a significant competitive advantage moving way beyond just securing raw materials. Their fast reactors, which are this newer generation designed to be incredibly efficient, they can even consume nuclear waste.
Consume waste.
Yes, they can actually utilize spent nuclear fuel recovered by their own proprietary nuclear fuel recycling technology. This isn't just reusing, it's transforming what we currently see as a problem into a valuable resource. If you connect this to the bigger picture, it positions them as a leading advanced nuclear company pursuing a vertically integrated model, nuclear power and recycled fuel business.
So they control more of the process.
Exactly. It gives them a structural long-term supply chain advantage, a cost advantage. It significantly reduces the need for external enrichment and creates what is essentially a self-sufficient fuel loop. Imagine a closed-loop system, generates power, and cleans up existing waste. It's a really elegant solution to multiple challenges at once.
Okay, so beyond the tech and the fuel, what about strategic partnerships? Who are they working with? What does that tell us about their future growth, their market reach, the sectors they're aiming for?
Yeah, they've announced several really impactful collaborations recently. It definitely shows where they see the demand growing. They signed an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power KHNP.
Big global player.
Huge global nuclear player. They're exploring cooperation on advanced nuclear projects worldwide. Covers everything: development, licensing, manufacturing, supply chain. That signals serious global ambition. Okay. They also have a joint development agreement with Vertiv. Vertiv's a global leader in data center infrastructure. They're going to co-develop advanced power and cooling solutions together.
The data center angle.
Right. And this specifically leverages steam from Oklo's plants to run chillers for cooling, creates a highly efficient integrated solution.
That Vertiz partnership seems particularly relevant, doesn't it? Given
Yeah.
the booming AI sector and its just insatiable energy demands. It's almost like they're directly addressing the energy crunch brought on by AI.
Precisely. America's AI Action Plan specifically highlights this increasing demand for resilient, high-density, clean power. And that directly drives a need for co-located nuclear reactors for this distributed AI infrastructure growth, like these massive data centers.
Co-located meaning
You-
right there.
Right there. Oklo's flexible siting model allows for exactly this kind of integration. Imagine a future data center powered by a compact nuclear reactor right on site. You eliminate the need for vast transmission lines, ensure constant, reliable power. It's a different paradigm.
Okay, who else?
Another significant one is with Liberty Energy. They're offering a kind of near-term gas, long-term nuclear integrated power solution, provides immediate energy for industrial users, but with a clear pathway to clean nuclear energy later.
Bridging the gap.
Kind of a bridge, yeah. And critically, the U.S. Air Force issued a notice of intent to award, naming Oklo the apparent successful awardee to power a U.S. military installation.
Wow, the military.
Yeah. This represents a potential first-of-a-kind deployment of advanced fission in this vital sector. The security requirements, the regulatory hurdles for a military installation are immense. So this is a huge validation of Oklo's technology and their team.
Definitely. So these partnerships, they're clearly not just random alliances. They seem tightly tied to these broader market trends and, as you mentioned earlier, regulatory tailwinds. What's happening at that macro level that's supporting Oklo's vision and really accelerating advanced nuclear across the board?
Yeah, this is where the macro picture really comes into focus and supports Oklo's future guidance and, frankly, the entire advanced nuclear sector. Multiple executive orders, legislative actions like that, one big beautiful bill, the OBBB.
Catchy name.
Right. It's a comprehensive package designed to accelerate infrastructure and clean energy deployment. That, plus America's AI Action Plan, they are directly designed to speed up advanced nuclear deployment.
How so?
Well, it includes pursuing regulatory reforms at the Department of Energy, the DOE, and the NRC. It involves categorizing civil nuclear power as a national security interest. And it unlocks access to those government fuel stockpiles we talked about. It's a significant coordinated policy push providing substantial tailwinds.
Can you give us maybe a few more specific examples of those policy actions? It sounds like there's an almost unprecedented level of government support and streamlining happening right now.
Absolutely. It's pretty remarkable. We're seeing what they call a proactionary innovation posture benefiting advanced nuclear permitting. There are new policies aimed at streamlining siting and permitting historically major bottlenecks.
Definitely.
There are robust investment tax credits, the 48E, and production tax credits, 45Y. These remain in full effect for advanced nuclear until 2033, then phase out partially until 2036. That offers long-term financial certainty, which is huge for these
This
projects.
investment easier.
Much easier.
I have.
There's also restored priority for nuclear and DOE lending programs, making project financing more accessible. Accelerated environmental reviews under NEPA, they're talking strict 180-day deadlines.
Wow.
Yeah. And 100% bonus depreciation for qualified production property, making investments even more attractive upfront. The NRC itself is being directed to implement 18-month review deadlines for new reactors and cap licensing fees. That directly addresses the notorious cost and time associated with regulatory processes.
Cutting red tape.
Essentially, yes. There's even a pilot program targeting 3 operational advanced reactors by July 2026. Oklo could potentially qualify for that. These aren't minor tweaks. These are systemic accelerants for the entire industry, designed to de-risk and just speed up deployment dramatically.
Okay. So bringing it all together then, what does all this mean for Oklo's stated investment highlights? How do their Q2 numbers, which we now understand are more like a strategic burn than a struggle? How does their project execution, their innovative fuel strategy, these powerful partnerships, how does it all fit into their overall competitive advantage?
It really suggests they are systematically, piece by piece, building out the necessary infrastructure and the strategic relationships to capitalize on their core competitive advantages. Oklo positions itself with that attractive build, own, operate business model. They plan to sell power directly to customers under long-term contracts.
Like a utility, but small and more targeted.
Kind of, yeah. Think of it like a highly optimized factory or a successful franchise system. Instead of custom building and licensing each nuclear plant from scratch, which is incredibly slow and expensive, they design and get approval for a standardized unit, then just sort of stamp out and deploy more. That vastly accelerates growth and reduces costs.
Makes sense.
Their small, scalable design aims for multi-gigawatt deployment eventually, using existing materials and factory fabrication key for speed. And their technology is based on proven fast reactor designs, which reduces R&D costs and should accelerate licensing.
And how do all these strategic elements translate into the why care for our listeners, someone trying to understand the big picture here, whether this company could be a major player in the future of energy?
Right. Well, you should care because their strategy aims to deliver superior economics. They're talking potentially incredibly low capital and operating costs, driven by that strategic reactor design and the innovative nuclear fuel recycling we discussed.
Lower cost energy.
Potentially, yes. Their reported 14-gigawatt customer pipeline spanning critical sectors like data centers, utilities, oil and gas, industrial facilities that powerfully validates the immense demand for their scalable product offering. People want this.
Clearly.
And importantly, their ability to recycle used nuclear waste for fuel and potentially develop high-margin radioisotope businesses provides powerful synergies. It unlocks not just clean energy, but potential energy abundance. All of this indicates a company proactively addressing the future of clean, reliable, affordable energy on a global scale. They're fundamentally trying to shift the paradigm of what nuclear power can be.
So reflecting on all this, what stands out to you most from this deep dive into Oklo's Q2 and their future guidance? It really does seem like this fascinating, intricate dance between managing current expenses as a strategic investment while just aggressively pursuing this bold long-term vision, and all supported by these significant external tailwinds.
Indeed. I mean, while the Q2 report clearly shows a company in a vigorous growth phase with expected strategic losses, the substantial cash reserves they have, combined with their ambitious project timelines and this web of strategic alliances they've forged, it paints a picture of a company that seems exceptionally well-positioned. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests that maybe the real earnings in this quarter aren't about immediate profitability. Maybe it's more about the invaluable groundwork being laid for future revenue, for operational acceleration, and maybe even long-term market dominance. They're buying into their future, and it seems the market and policy are increasingly buying in right alongside them.
That's a really powerful way to look at it. So as we wrap up then, what does this all mean for the bigger picture of advanced nuclear power, for our global energy future? What's the fundamental shift we should be contemplating here?
Yeah, I think this raises a really important question for all of us looking forward. As demand for resilient, truly clean power just skyrockets, I mean, especially with the exponential growth of AI, data centers, the ongoing push for energy security, How much will the successful deployment of companies like Oklo fundamentally reshape our understanding of what's even possible in energy infrastructure?
Right.
Are we potentially moving beyond the traditional constraints of these huge centralized plants? Are we unlocking a new era of distributed, secure, abundant power that's closer to where it's needed?
Yeah.
Maybe even consuming our existing waste in the process. It's certainly something to mull over until our next deep dive.